Shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to Call Loyam La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachagadas Wakatham. Double honors to my apostles, the elders of the great millstone, who do teach and do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwaf as well as the Akim on the listening and learning. Lord, willingly this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of the other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you I say shalom. This is the brother Yahweh out of the GMS Cleveland Church, a fellow servant, and I'm coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And basically, through the Spirit, I want to do a lesson because today is pretty much today basically is pretty much one of our most important high holy days, which is the Passover. When you go into the account of the Passover, is basically we were delivered from our persecution in ancient Egypt, and we are in the modern day Egypt, because when you go into the word Egypt, it basically means bondage, and we are still in the hands of our enemies, who is first and foremost the red Hebrew Edomite, who people ignorantly call the so-called white man, who is not really white, but is red because his blood shows forth through his skin. And, it was an ancient deliverance, and that's, what took place then, but it'll be another deliverance from this current Egypt or Babylon the Great, which is known in scriptures. Well, it's known in the scriptures as Babylon the Great, but is otherwise known as America, aka Babylon the great whore that sitteth upon the beast. So through the Spirit, I normally don't do lessons like this, but I figured, because this is, again, like one of the most important high holy days, and although they all are important, this one is very symbolic of, the Most High rescuing us, delivering us out of our, again, captivity up under the Hamites, which are the ancient Egyptians. And it's symbolic because we're awaiting another deliverance that shall surpass that deliverance, which is spoken of in the scriptures. So if you're not aware, let's get into Exodus chapter 12, which goes into this important high holy day. You got the Passover, and then after that you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is 6 days of you going without leaven, which is yeast, which is like the agent that allows bread to rise. So in observance of this Salakia, I was about to say holiday, Salakia, slip of the tongue, but not of the heart. Knowing through the Spirit that was going to happen. Anyhow, so because of the fact that in observance of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we do not consume any, baked goods, because they tend to have yeast or baker's yeast, certain wines, certain alcohols. It's not as simple as you think. You would think, because just in bread, you're looking at pizza and bread and pastries and whatnot, but yeast is in a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? Vinegars and a lot of sauces and seasonings, and, it could be in a lot of different stuff. So, you got to be mindful, and you got to be circumspect, take this thing seriously, because, the Lord, I've been in the truth. I'm a baby, but like the elders say, real talk. I'm a baby, but I've participated in a few Passovers, and this thing is deadly serious. Talks about eating the Passover lamb unworthily. You know, and, it's always a sifting before the Passover and after. So anyhow, but the Passover goes into the basically our deliverance out of ancient Egypt, and then because we had to eat our meal in haste because you had the death angel, and we were basically hoping by marking the blood on the doorpost of our home that death angel would pass over our homes and spare us. So it's when you have an understanding, when the elder apostle Tahar um, tells us that it's not, it's a solemn assembly. It's a serious situation. It's a serious matter. It's a serious thing. Because if you take the attitude of how it was back then, you're hearing people dying and screaming, and and it's pitch dark, and you know what I mean. So that was probably a terrifying. Not probably. I'm sure it was a terrifying thing. If you've ever experienced a blackout, you know, just imagine. So it's you basically the food was prepared and eaten quickly, and you were dressed ready to move because you didn't know if you were going to live or die. And that's why I was eating in such haste. And then you got a lot of our people that don't even partake in trying to keep up with this custom. I was listening to the elder, and he used the word and basically rehearse the word rehearse, because we're basically the elder apostle Tahar said none of us are keeping the Passover correctly, which is true. We don't know, it's supposed to be a specific kind of lamb or goat. It's supposed to, the ritual is set up a certain kind of way, but we don't have our own land to butcher the particular, lamb. We don't, so we don't know if we eating we don't know. So it's a rehearsal, but when you go into the word rehearsal, he says it basically breaks down to recount, meaning to try to go back to the old ways. So I took that spiritually. But without further ado, I'm gonna jump into this because brothers are setting up the whole Passover as we speak. And I was involved to a degree, and I still got things going on in my household. So, but through the Spirit, I wanted to do something to touch on this. So this is Exodus chapter 12, verse 1, and it reads, "And the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua spake unto Moses, and Aaron is in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." So when you go into the Passover is the beginning of our calendar, which makes a lot of sense. Esau likes to begin the calendar in the beginning of winter, but that's really for these sheeple. Esau Edom is up on more things than what people think, and he's a devil, which means deceiver. Diablos. So he he'll mislead you to control you. You know what I mean? Verse 3: "Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. The lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year." So, that's the criteria for this. Again, we're not in a position to do that. You got certain Edomites, you got certain Jakes that own land and can, go, raise up livestock and whatnot. But, for the most part, we don't have that going for us. So, we're doing all this by faith and rehearsing the righteous acts. This is, ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorposts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. So, it's a spiritual because brothers, I've partaken again in a few different Passovers, and sometimes brothers, give you a little salad or a little rice, but this year, brothers just stuck strictly with what the scripture said. It says, they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. So afterwards, after you consumed, this meal, you got to eat the whole thing, or you got to get rid of the whole thing. Verse 11, and thus, but the thing is, the ideal thing to do is to eat it all, to consume it. Because this, you got to understand, this is a ritual. Matter of fact, let me go into the word ritual. It's funny to me because you have a lot of people that don't understand, Hey, look at that, ritual Passover feast. Ain't that something? Came right up. Call lawyer, call lawyer, how about Shim Yahushua? A religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. The role of the ritual in religion. So this is a ceremony basically set up in a particular order. You got to get the lamb, you got to order sheep. Well, you got to get the lamb because I think the lamb is a baby sheep, or the sheep is a baby lamb, or you can use a goat, which is the male equivalent. The sheep is, I think, the female. And basically, you slaughter it, then take the blood and you put it on the doorpost, and then you're supposed to went into your homes. You're supposed to eat the unleavened bread, the bitter herb, and the lamb. And you're supposed to eat it quickly. Verse 11, and thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. Verse 12, for I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the powers of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And then you go into that is the name Yahweh. That's Jehovah. Jehovah, self-existent one, but Jehovah, which it wasn't a letter J, but it's the name of the Most High God, Yahweh. Verse 13, and the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. So it's like a mark, when you go into the script, because you have the mark in Ezekiel chapter 9, and then you got the mark in the Revelation chapter 13. And that mark in Ezekiel chapter 9 is basically a mark of exemption. And that mark in Exodus chapter 12, the blood on the doorpost, is the mark of exemption because the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, basically was judging that land. Verse 14, and this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. So even in the land of our captivity, we supposed to keep this. It's spiritual because when you go in the scriptures, even when, Yahushua was alive and he walked the earth, although Jerusalem or Israel was in, what's that word? Not sovereign, but they was, I can't think of the word, but basically, they vassal. They were vassal. They were vassals on the Rome. So, we were allowed to still worship in the way we worship. We had to pay taxes to Rome, you know. So, even in Yahushua's day, they still partook in the Passover. But, you got 2/3 of our nation that, hears week in, week out, and they refuse to hearken onto our words. Well, it's not our words, it's the words of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. But they refuse to hearken onto the words, And, makes me think of Revelation because we brought it out at camp. It says, let the filthy be filthy still. Let the unjust, it says, let the unjust be unjust still. The filthy be filthy still. Because the Most High put a reprobate spirit on them to judge them. Verse 15, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. So you eat the unleavened bread on the Passover, and then 6 days afterwards. And then the final day is like a feast, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread, even the first. Well, what I say a feast the last day because you know how we all are meant to come together on the Passover on the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is like the whole congregation comes together as well again. So that's why I worded like a feast. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread, even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your house. For whomsoever eat of leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Verse 16, and in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation. That's a spirit because I just spoke on this. So you go into her word convocation is mikra, called out, that is public meeting or a solemn assembly, rehearsal, assembly, convocation. So it says there shall be a holy convocation. It says, and in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No matter of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. Verse 17, and ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. Verse 18, the first month on the 14th day of the month at eve, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month and eve. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your house. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Verse 20, ye shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. So, and again, this is something that, you as coming to the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of who you are, through the Spirit, because it tells you in the book of Romans chapter 8 that the Spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. So if your spirit is resonating with the fact that, this gospel, this doctrine, then you are supposed to partake in this. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 23. I didn't mean to make this that long, Salakia. 23 and verse 14, and it reads, 3 national feasts. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvests, in the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labor, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before the Lord, the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, because, ultimately, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is our king. He did give us a king in the flesh, which is David, but, it's an order, it's the Most High, Then it's our big brother Yahushua Mashiach. Then it's King David. Then it's the 144,000. Says, thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. So it's kind of like a fast, If you you do a fast from sundown to sundown, and you take say the sun goes down at 6:22. Well, say for instance you finish eating at 6:23. Well, you already done messed that fast up. And the same thing is with if you consume an 11. So, again, this is a time to be very circumspect. Because, again, you should, scriptures talk about study to show thyself approved. And, we study, we look up things, we study watching videos, researching. But, you got to go into certain these words on the food, because Esau is truly a devil. He has put things in the food when you wondering why. And, it really truly feels spiritual. You wonder why do he got to come up with this complicated ass name when he's using something like pork? You know what I mean? Like, this motherfucker's a devil. You know what I mean? He'll take some beetles and he'll say he used beetles and literally to make a particular food dye. But who's to say he ain't using cockroaches? It's certain lawful insects to eat, like crickets and I think grasshoppers. But you got other, because they're sources of protein, But you got other, like I tend to bring out, like in Moab, China, or if you wasn't aware, the biblical name of the Chinese is the Moabites. Well, they have cockroach farms. And they say they give a vague answer why they got these things. They say it can be used for multiple purposes as food. They just left it out there. And then, when you go into that movie Snowpiercer, those bars that they ate, those so-called energy bars, or those food sustain or those life-sustaining bars were cockroach bars. So this is the mind of this devil. So it wouldn't be surprising if this devil purposely was doing these things, because he wants to accuse us to the Most High. Lock it. Want to have some reason to say why? Look at them. Look at they breaking your laws, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, to keep us in subjection. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 9. And I'm going to start at verse 9, and it reads, and the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord. So this is such a requirement and so much of an important high holy day that even if you couldn't attend it in Jerusalem, you supposed to partake and take. You basically supposed to participate in it, wherever you are at. That's why it says, if you on a journey far off, or if you touch a dead body, because a dead body will make you basically unclean. It says, yet ye shall keep the Passover unto the Lord. The 14th day of the second month at eve, they shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it until the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it. But the man that is clean and is not in a journey, and forbeareth to keep the Passover, even the same soul shall be cut off from among his people, because he brought not the offering of the Lord in his appointed season, that man shall bear his sin. Because, the scriptures talk about offer up thy body as a living sacrifice. We know that we understand that to mean, going out to doing the will and the work of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, proclaiming his truth, preaching his truth. But also, a part of the scriptures talk about in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, it talks about the whole the whole duty of man is to fear the Most High and to keep His commandments. Where the scriptures, if this is a commandment to keep these high holy days, then you're required as an Israelite, as a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, and Haitian to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. All right, this is the book of John, chapter 13, and beginning at verse 1. Because, again, showing you how, this went all the way back prior to Yahushua Mashiach, who people ignorantly call Jesus Christ. But even in, the captivity when Israel was under the subjection of the ancient Romans, they kept the tradition. They kept the Passover. They kept the high holy day. This is John 13:1. And now before the feast of the Passover, when Yahushua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, the Father had given all things into his hand, and that he was come from the Most High and went to the Most High. So the point I really wanted was, the first verse, because at the end of the day, proving that, Yahushua was partaking in the Passover, and, the significance of Yahushua Mashiach, because, the Passover basically was like basically Yahushua was symbolic of that Passover lamb, and that's why we don't actually sacrifice with with as far as for the Passover, you don't have to sacrifice, which would make all the sense while we under the grace. You know what I mean? That just popped in my head. Call Allah Yahweh, that's the spirit. Because it make all the sense now, because we are in a position to be able to slaughter this Passover lamb, because Yahushua was the ultimate sacrifice. He was, the ultimate spiritual sacrifice. So therefore, we don't have to actually do that anymore, because we are under grace because of, Yahushua. Basically, his death atoned for, our sins. And that's the only reason why we came to this beautiful knowledge. Call Allah Yahweh. That's deep, though, when you really go into, how it was all set up when Yahushua, basically died during the Passover, which is deep, I'm gonna end it with this, now, we're talking about, because you got the Passover and then you got the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So, again, you're not to partake in eating anything with leaven in it, which is yeast, which makes dough to rise or cookies to rise, But again, yeast or baker's yeast is found in a lot of different stuff. So I suggest you do your research, But, you're required to get all the leaven out of your home. But, you have right now, because we're coming into Passover, you not only get out the physical yeast, but you get out the spiritual yeast as well. Brothers be going off secretly, holding on to the old ways, or holding on to that old man, having contention for one another. This is the time to purge, all of that out before, don't hold no grudges, because at the end of the day, scriptures talk about, again, it's a what's the word, a repercussion for partaking in the Passover, but partaking in it unworthily. You could be judged for that. So this is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 6, and it reads, "Your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaveneth the whole loaf? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened.
for even a Mashiach or Passover is sacrificed for us. Verse 8, therefore let us keep the feast not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. You know, you holding on to grudges and contention, and we are a body, and through the Spirit, brothers can tell when, a brother going off, when the brother ain't doing right or doing what he's supposed to do. I mean, a brother might call you out the blue, and I literally just had that happen to me recently. A brother, he didn't really know what was going on, but the Spirit led him to, he didn't call me, text me with a video and told me to watch a specific part. And I'm like, why is he sending this? But then I sat back and I observed and thought about it, and I was like, wow, because, it was deep, And I was like, well, it could be. I'm wondering, as you talk about that, he never spoke on it. He never questioned it. But the Spirit led him to do that. And it was all after I made a decision. Because you got to understand, the Lord is constantly testing us. Lord willingly, I remain in this thing, but I could be tested. We all can literally be tested and taken up out of this thing. And it makes me think about that no-name prophet that basically was told to go speak to Ahab. And, basically the scriptures talk about it's better to obey than to sacrifice. And he didn't obey, and he was judged. Scriptures tells you that the deceived and the deceiver are both his. The Lord control, the one that's getting deceived and the one that's doing the deceiving. It tells you in the book of Ecclesiasticus or the book of Sirach that all things bend to the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So with all that being said, again, I'm going to end it here because, again, tonight is, basically us partaking in the High Holy Day Passover. Lord willing, this was edifying. If you're a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed. And with that, I want to give all praise, all honor, all glory to called Loyam La Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem I'm going to say double honors to my apostles, the elders of the great millstone who teach and do rule well. I'm going to say peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. I'm going to say shalom to the Akwath, as well as the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad and on land of the other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Till next time I'm able to come with another lesson, I'm going to say shalom, 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 shalom.